To add a new field to a Drupal content type, you'll go to the Manage Fields tab, and in the Add New Field area, provide the label for that field. That label will be used to automatically generate a machine name. Now that's the variable name that you would reference if you were writing PHP code at the module level or at the template level to interact with this data. You can edit and change these names, but it's a good idea to just let Drupal set these for you. Then you would select the particular field type and a widget. Sometimes more than one widget is available, but not always. It depends on the field type. Now, for text fields in particular, Drupal has three types available out of the box: a long text field, a long text that has a separate summary field, and then a plain text field. And you would choose one of those as you configured that particular field type. There are additional field types that can be added through modules. For example, there is a 5-star module that creates a field type that has a widget, which is a number of stars that can be visually selected by the user, and then that data is captured as the value of that particular field. There's also a whole API for creating custom field types. To configure a text field, well, they're pretty straightforward. You would just set a maximum length and then configure the standard fields we've already looked at, like label and so on. Let's jump in and add an author field to our book content type. I'll go to Structure, Content Types, go to my book content type, Manage Fields, and I'm going to add a new field I'll call author name. Notice that that does become the machine name for this field. For my field type, I'm going to select a plain text field, and note that for this field type, there's only one widget available. I'll go ahead and save these changes, and then I'll be asked for field settings, including the maximum length. In this case, I think 100 characters is probably sufficient for an author name. I'll save those settings, and now we're to the standard settings that we saw earlier. We see that author name is our label. I'm going to make this a required field. Now, we've looked at help text. I'm not going to add any here. We see size of text field, and we could provide a default value for the author name. That doesn't really make sense, but down below, I do think that changing the number of values does make sense here. We don't know how many authors a book may have. So I'm going to select unlimited for the number of values and save these settings. Now, what that means is I'll now be able to add unlimited authors to a particular book. So we have our author name field now. Let's go take a look at it by editing one of our existing books. So I'm going to go to Find Content, and I might find, for example, the book Walden. I can go through to edit that book. And when I do so, I now see book name, description, and so on, but there's now an author name field available. And I could add in Henry David Thoreau as the author name. But notice that because I set unlimited values, I have the option to add another item if I chose. I'm not going to do so in this case. I'll just save my change. And now Walden, which has been updated, does have an author value. And it displays by default down at the bottom of the page when I display that content. Now, the format and the sequence of data that's displayed on these pages we'll be working with later to change the appearance and change the UI a bit.